Hey, hello, welcome to Talkin' Hoops. Tom and Jandy Talk Hoops, a varsity sports live production of Midco Sports Network from the comfy confines of Jandy's garage.
It's a little chilly.
This is beautiful. It feels good in here. We're going to talk about South Dakota High School hoops in the last week. Recently, it's late January. Where you been?
We're halfway through the season already, and I figured, it's time to actually start talking hoops. You start getting hungry for how these teams are actually playing. And this year, more than ever, without the team camps and with the slow starts and coming off of COVID and all that, these teams really didn't look like themselves. And I think now, right in the middle of January, we're seeing some separation, some teams evolve right before our very eyes. So I'm excited to talk hoops.
This is great timing.
Great time.
Let's start with who's hot. Starting with the recent Hanson Classic, played at the Corn Palace in Mitchell.
Well, I'm going to go in reverse order. So they always save the best games for last. That last game, we had Dakota Valley take on Sioux Valley and some of the best individual players we have in this state. And Isaac Bruns, this is not Paul Bruns, the senior at Dakota Valley, but Isaac Bruns, the sophomore brother, he's put up several 30-point games. He went for 35 points against an undefeated Sioux Valley team. He has been absolutely tremendous. And then his brother Paul, who's going to UND next year, a mere 26 points and 17 rebounds. Between the two of those guys this year, they average over 50 points per game. And these are the two Brunses. So they were outstanding. Oliver Vincent in the loss with 27 points. So just that game alone, we had some terrific ball players, but there's a lot more games.
What else from the Hanson Classic?
We had Kalen Gary. If you haven't heard of him, the junior, who's been my player of the year for basically the last 2 years in Class B out of this Met. He had 17 in the first half, was absolutely tearing it up, got into some foul trouble, ended up with 21, and they won against an undefeated Platte Geddes team. He carried them. For Howard, Tyson Spader, 27 points, 6 rebounds as they beat Aberdeen Christian in overtime. So that was a big win for Howard. Just one loss on the year. They're right in the thick of things in Class B right now. And then some of the earlier games, we had some great performances. Tice Ortman out of Canastota, 34-point game going up against White River. And Joe Saylor. Do you know Joe Saylor?
I've seen Joe Saylor.
Okay, he's going to SDSU next year. He put up 25 points in their loss. He's an outstanding player. So they had a great battle between those two, 34 for one, Tice Hartman, and 25 for Saylor. So some big performances.
Have you had Joe Saylor in a Thunder report yet? I saw there
he's going to be. I do one every month, so he'll be in the January edition here coming up next week for sure. Yeah, and I think everybody's already seen it, so it's not going to be much of a surprise. How about Caleb Hollenbeck?
How about him?
David Hollenbeck's son. He had last year, had Colin Hollenbeck, who was crazy good, and this year Caleb put up 22.7 rebounds in a big game against T, and St. Thomas More got the victory. And then in a loss, Grady Sherman, who was our Game Ball Award winner last week, he went for 25 points and 15 boards. And that's been pretty much the norm for Grady Sherman this year out of Viborg Hurley. So some outstanding, as usual, big-time performances on like the mini pre-state tournament stage that the Hanson Classic always seems to be.
Paul Bruns at Dakota Valley. He's got good side. How tall is Paul Bruns?
He's a solid 6'4", and I'll tell you what, he's going to be a great offensive player in the Summit League. I think he has to admit himself, he's just got to get better on the defensive end. But 17 boards, he knows how to hit the boards, he knows how to pass. He's not going to be just a great scorer. He's going to be a great player for UND.
All right, what about Micah Swallow, Rapid City Central, and Sioux Falls Roosevelt in a good match recently?
Yeah, if you didn't see it, 59 points. Here it is, Tom. Coming down to the final seconds of the game. Half quarter to win. How often do you see that? Not very often. And, Roosevelt played around with them all game long. Tyler Feldkamp had a shot with about 4 or 5 seconds left. They didn't milk the entire clock. He tried to put one up and didn't quite make it. And then coming back down, Micah Swallow has a big game. And I think Micah Swallow had 23 points, 10 rebounds in that game. He's been tremendous for Rapid City Central. So they're putting some little charge together here.
And the Cobblers beat them. I mean, Sioux Falls Roosevelt was one of your contenders to begin the season. They still are, but Double-A boys is pretty shaky right now.
It's wide open. And Roosevelt, they'll admit, they didn't play their best game, but Central's only got 2 losses this year, and they're playing some really good ball right now. I'd watch out for Rapid City Central to make a second-half push here.
All right, a couple players that are hot right now. One from Beersford, girls player from Beersford.
How about that? We had a triple-double over the weekend. Laura Bogue went for 29 points, 11 steals, 10 rebounds in their game against Chester, and she capped it off earlier last week with a 17-point game. So we're looking for game ball nominations right now. She's definitely a contender at this point.
Bogue from Beersford, and then Sydney Voss from Viborg Hurley.
Sydney Voss, she came up with a
39?
39-point game, and it was a competitive game. Like some of these 39-point games, you see they're kind of blowouts, and they just let you shoot. It was a competitive game against Baltic, and at the end they pulled away and won. And Sydney Voss has kind of been their leader this year. They've got about 3 gals who do a really good job at scoring the ball. Coral Mason is one of them. Nevea. I forgot Nevea's last name, but Nevea is a good player as well. But Sydney Voss has really stood out as the best player on Viborg Hurley.
Nevea can have one name because that's a cool
Nevea.
name that just goes by itself. But
I'll edit that in.
game ball nominations. How do they get them to you? How can
Yes.
people get to you?
DM either the Midco SN account or me directly. Email me, jason.andera@midco.com. Let Tom know. I don't care. Just put it out on Twitter, put it out on Instagram, wherever you want. And I love getting the I love getting the nominations from people because there's a lot that I hear about, and then I get a lot of box scores emailed directly to me, a lot of papers that I scour. But
And you just laid out about a dozen of them with the players we just talked about.
Sometimes you get a few that you don't see. So please let me know. There's just a lot of good players across the state.
All right, AA girls. Rapid City Stevens had a big week, including a win over Sioux Falls O'Gorman, and not just by a couple.
They're playing some defense right now, and they started the season out, I believe, 1-3. And Michael Brooks, who was their head coach 4 years ago, took over, took last year off to help with the boys, came back this year as the head coach for the girls again this year, and lately he's got them playing outstanding basketball, and I had a chance to catch up with him. Here's our conversation earlier today about the resurgent Stevens Raiders.
Let's start with just your analysis of the year so far and how you started versus how you're playing right now.
I'm excited about the growth of the team. I think we've had a challenging road. When you look at this summer, we had absolutely no time together. We went to no camps. We didn't do anything. We only Zoomed, and then we set up a website that had workouts that they could do. Coming into the fall, we had 4 open gyms, and then we got closed for distance learning. So I only saw the players 4 times since the end of last year. And at the end of last year, I was on the boys' side, so I was just clapping and giving them high fives when they came off of the floor. So it was very interesting to step in to the situation where our volleyball team had been shut down due to COVID. So the girls were coming off of a month and a half of doing nothing and not being at school. And then the first day that school reopened was tryouts. Then we had a host of injuries because we went from couch to court. And it was challenging to deal with getting us in shape, balancing that with our schoolwork, balancing that with health, because then we went to level 2, we went to level 3, and now we're finally in level 1. And it's been consistent now for a good amount of time since Christmas. And I think that's really when we've started to pick up the pace, getting everybody back. The games this weekend were the first time that we had everybody on our roster available to play. So, I think it's been great in terms of learning each other and dealing with adversity. And that's going to serve us well down the road.
Awesome. Well, Kaya Watson got a lot of attention last year and deservedly so. She did a little bit of everything. But you guys have a lot of experience back this year. Just talk about some of those players who maybe have a little bit different role this year, but they're experienced.
Yeah, a couple starters from last year. I mean, we still have 4 starters that returned. With Kennedy Rising, she's been on varsity since she was a freshman. Right now, she's our leading scorer. And we look to her to do a lot of things for us. Luckily she's been the one kid that's been at every practice and who has been in every game thus far. And then Jada McNabb, has kind of taken over in that point guard responsibility where we were able to use Kaya in so many different ways, from a post to a guard, depending on what we needed for that game and where we could take advantage. So her stepping into that point guard role is huge. Grace Ellis, the transfer from Minnesota last year, her role is kind of changing, going to the wing, but it kind of gives us a 2-headed point guard with her and McNabb out there, we can just reverse the ball, and then we have another point guard bringing it up on the other side. So it makes us a little dangerous to be able to press and get after us with that ability. And then Bailey Soapsack is just a tremendous inside force for us. She's getting tons of attention college-wise. So it's great to have her back. I think this was the most she's played in a while was this last weekend. She's not anywhere near 100%, but we've got to be able to get her back. So those 4 kids started last year, and we're looking for them to have major roles as our season unfolds. But I've been really impressed with a couple other kids. We had to transfer from Central, Kenya Maryville, who is going to make some impact, but she's been dealing with a stress fracture and finally got minutes this weekend versus O'Gorman. Came in and had a big 3-point play. And then Jaden Matkins is an Augustana recruit. She's already committed there, and she's been making a huge impact at 6'1" and long, really finding her role. And this is her big year to step into that. So a tremendous amount of kids, but we've now got to get them some time together so they can gel and understand, what their roles entail.
All right, Jandy Rhapsody Stevens, the girls not rated this week, but should they be?
Well, they got 1 vote in the latest poll. That was from me. I gave them a 5th place mention, and it's because I think they're right at this point definitely one of the top 5 teams. You get Bailey Sobchak back into the lineup to really bolster what they already had on the court that's playing so well. I'll tell you what.
Beat O'Gorman by 21, but now what do they do to follow that up, right?
Well, yeah, they obviously have to keep that going, but they've been playing really well over the last week or two. I think they're really in sync, and that's why I wanted to give them a little extra publicity, because I think this is a team on the rise.
All right, this gets people riled up. Overrated or underrated?
Yeah.
One or the other. Somebody's going to be happy, somebody's not going to be. But Mitchell boys are 9-1 right now. They just beat Brandon Valley and Watertown this past week. Mitchell's boys.
I think they are slightly underrated. They came in number 3 in the latest poll. I voted them number 2. And a lot of these overrated, underrated are 1 or 2 off. I really think the polls did a pretty good job.
Who's number 1 right now?
In AA?
In AA boys?
Oh, it's for sure. It's the only team that's been undefeated and playing well right now. It's Washington. They came out, and I voted Mitchell number 2, but Yankton came out in the poll.
Yankton 2, Mitchell 3. Okay.
Yeah. And I tell you what, Mitchell, ever since they lost to Sioux Falls Christian, and that's the only blemish on their record right now, a Class A team, and I think that knocks them down in some people's eyes. But everybody can have good games back. They could not shoot that game. Yes, definitely some credit to Christian's defense. But did you see what they did against Brandon?
Impressive win. Beat them by 20 what?
They rolled them. I don't remember what the score was. But Caden Hinker and Zane Alm, nobody has a pair like that, where you got a 6'6" and a 6'10" guy who can both shoot it inside or outside. And that was one game against Brandon where they were both hitting. And if Mitchell plays like that, I think they're definitely underrated.
All right, St. Thomas More boys are 11-2 right now.
I think they're underrated as well. I think this is a team, they lost to Thunder Basin, a team that we don't know much about, but that's a good team.
From Wyoming.
And then they really have put it together as of late. They're on a winning streak right now. They just took care of business against T-Area, a team that doesn't look good by their record, but all their losses come to basically the top 4 teams in the state. So St. Thomas More is a team, I think, in the second half of the season, you can watch for get on a little roll here.
Underrated at the moment.
Underrated.
All right, some girls teams. Aberdeen Central is 10-0 right now.
And the only undefeated, and we've had a different number 1 team, I think, almost every week of the poll. And the poll that just came out has Aberdeen at number 1. Now, record-wise, they're number 1. I think they're probably overrated. Do I think they're the best team in AA? Well, they've done the best job, but they haven't really played a team that can really hang their hat on for that huge victory. And they've got Brandon Valley coming up later this week. If they prove it to me there, I might have to change my mind, but I think a little bit overrated at this point.
At 10-0. All right, winners girls. Winners girls are 11-1 right now.
And they come in at number 3, and a lot of people had them number 1 at the beginning of the year. They did have that little slip up against West Central, but they've absolutely been torching teams. I think they're underrated. They should be a number 2 team right now at least, and they've got a date with St. Thomas More coming up, I believe February 5th, yes, where they play St. Thomas More, the number 1 team in the class, and I think the rest of the state will see that they are underrated at number 3.
All right. If West Central and Winter played again, Which way would that go?
Well, I think Winter's a better team. I think they had an off shooting night, and everybody has one of those in high school basketball. I think Winter, 9 times out of 10, is going to beat West Central. Ooh, that's like a hot take there,
That
Tom.
a boy, like it. White Rivers girls, Jandy, 8-0 right now.
How are they at number 3? I don't know how you can find 2 teams better than what they've done so far this year. They've been phenomenal, and they beat West Central, by the way, and they're number 3 in the Bs. Don't quite get that. They have also beaten Hamlin. They're undefeated. They're playing great. They're crushing teams in Class B. Kaylin Verlanda Prue just went for over 2,000 points in her career. The senior who missed most of last season due to an ACL injury, she has come back stronger than ever and is having a fantastic career. I think White River is fantastic. I would put them right there with Corsica Stickney.
Totally underrated, you're saying.
Totally underrated.
You want to pick that up, or should we
No,
just
I'm
keep
good.
going?
Let's keep going.
All right, the forecast for the week of the last week of January here. Coming up on Tuesday, girls game, Aberdeen Roncalli at Hamlin.
So Roncalli, a team that's undefeated. Not a lot of teams know how good that they've played this year. Right now, Hamlin came into the year with a little higher expectation. They have the Wadsworths, who are tremendous basketball players, but they haven't put it all together yet. I think they will put it together. I give them a 55% chance to beat Roncalli, and home court advantage has something to do with that.
That's just partly cloudy right there.
Partly cloudy.
You're throwing us a toss-up.
I could go either way. It's a chance of rain.
A bunch of good games on Thursday. In the boys,
Yes.
Roosevelt at Yankton.
This one, you don't know which Roosevelt team's going to show up. The one that we saw in the Pentagon is going to beat Yankton. The one that we saw, even against Rapid City Central is not going to beat Yankton. So which team's going to show up? This
We've
team's
seen
been,
Tyler Feldkamp have big games and not such big games. Is he
Yeah,
a
Tyler, come on, buddy. we believe in you. Your shooting percentage needs a little work. You need to take better shots. But, Tyler, I know you can take this criticism. So I think you'd be the first to admit if you take better shots, the team does better. But I'll tell you what, Marcus Phillips has been playing some outstanding basketball for Roosevelt. And as he goes, I think the team goes. And I think he gives them a legit opportunity to score against Matthew Moore's or whatever they give you in the post. So Yankton's going to slow this game down. Roosevelt's going to speed this game up. It's going to be interesting to see which style prevails. But I think I gave Yankton a 58% chance to win.
58, all right.
Yeah.
Sioux Falls Christian boys at Dakota Valley on Thursday.
This is the game of the week. Dakota Valley has been better than advertised. And I suggest to you, Tom, to make time on Thursday. Find a stream somewhere and watch that game. It's going to be high school basketball at its finest. Xavier Van Beek has been crushing it for Sioux Falls Christian. He had 28 points last week in their win over Mitchell. The Brunses have been outstanding. It's so hard to stop them because you've got 2 of them to go against.
And again, those brothers are averaging better than 50 a
50,
game.
yeah, 30
between them.
30 for Paul and over 20 for Isaac. And then they got a lot of other great players. They've got a sophomore who's come in and played really well in Randy Rosenquist. He's not got the points per game yet, but he comes in and gives them quality minutes. And Chase Montague, something like that. I don't know how you say it.
Sounds right.
Something like that. Chase, tell me how to say that. But Dakota Valley is the most complete team right now. I think they have one of the best shots at taking this home.
Just better than 60%?
63%.
Wow,
chance.
is that high?
63. That's pretty high.
For a good matchup like that.
For two ranked teams going at it. That's pretty high.
All right, in boys, Dell Rapids at Vermillion.
Yeah, Dell Rapids has a chance to really put their mark on the map because Vermillion, another team, if you haven't watched these guys play, you have no idea how good they are. They have got a lot of studs.
Well, AJ Plitzwhite was there a couple years ago, and he kind of
Yeah.
put him on the map again. But what's Vermillion got right
Well,
now?
Jacob Dobney, their senior, they've got a lot of great seniors, but Dobney, he played so well. They beat Sioux Falls Christian last week, giving Sioux Falls Christian their first loss in class and taking them out of that number 2 spot in the Class A poll. And Dobney, he went for, I think, 14 in the first quarter. He was just on fire and then ended up with over 20 points in the game. He's fun to watch. And Dell Rapids has some great players too, but Vermillion is definitely the favorite here. 60% chance to win.
For
Vermillion.
Vermillion,
Yeah.
60%.
Yep.
All right, Platte Geddes at White River. boys on Thursday.
Yeah, White River not ranked, but watch out. This is a team I think that's going to start putting it together with Joe Saylor and company. Platte Geddes, on the other hand, they took their first loss. How will they rebound after that first loss to Desmet? I mean, they're undefeated. They'll be a good team, but this will be one of their best tests of the year. They're going to have to play a lot better than they did at the Hanson Classic. I still think Platte Geddes has the upper hand in this one. 68% chance to win. Pretty good against a non-ranked team.
White River and Dakota Valley won't play each other this year, right? That'd be a nice matchup.
No, that's the A versus
with Bruns
B.
and Saylor.
I would love to see
That would
Dakota
be
Valley
fun.
play some double-A teams just to see how they've got so much depth. I think they'd match up great.
All right, 2 girls games Friday. Aberdeen Central at Brandon Valley, as you said before. Aberdeen Central still 10-0, but
A lot
we'll
of
see.
people are surprised about this Brandon Valley team, but they knocked off Harrisburg last week, the #1 team in the state. Haven't been consistent. There's a couple games where they didn't really get the shooting, but they've got a lot of good seniors. And Hillary Barons, I think, is our next D1 player who's still a sophomore or younger out of this Brandon Valley team, who's going to be tremendous, 6 foot.
Who's been rated #1 in girls AA so far?
Yeah, so we
O'Gorman,
started out
Washington.
the year with O'Gorman. They switched to Washington, and Harrisburg beat Washington, and it was Harrisburg. And then this
Has
week,
Brandon Valley been there?
no,
Okay.
no. And if they beat Aberdeen Central, they're going to get some votes for that.
But
So
it's Aberdeen Central this week.
yeah, somebody different every week.
What's your forecast for this one?
Oh yeah, we've got Brandon Valley actually projected to win 53%.
53.
That's a toss-up. That's a toss-up.
You giving the 50 plus 3 for the home court
I
there?
think so. I
Is that
think
what
we
it
get
is?
3 points for being at home.
All right, last game. Girls, Mount Vernon Plankington at Winter.
I threw this one on there because we want to watch Emily Fox, another outstanding player for Mount Vernon Plankington. I think is she a freshman or a sophomore? I have to go back and look. But she's been absolutely torching it, too. She's got a chance to win a game ball this week. Double-double after double-double, hitting 5-6 threes a night. She's an outstanding player, but they need more around her to beat a team like Winter. Winter's got definitely a strong chance, I think a 78% chance to win this. Bella Swedlin coming off of a 33-point game, and then the week before that averaging over 25 points per game against Corsica Stickney and Ethan, 2 unbeaten teams before they played them. So she's been good as advertised.
All right, what do we got, 5 weeks till the state tournaments?
Something like that. Let's do this
About
again.
that. Let's do this again. Game ball nominations one more time.
Yeah, throw those game ball nominations to me. There's the game ball right there. Oh, this is what you get, guys. You could be shooting with the game ball. Just send me an email, jason.andera@midco.com. DM me, whatever. You'll find me. But we give those out Wednesday every week. So your games from Thursday through the following Tuesday count every week. So we make it difficult.
And I know you want to change things in here. Don't
Yeah.
change anything.
No, I got
Do
some
not
thoughts.
change
I got some
anything.
thoughts. All right.
All right, see you next week or
Bye.
sometime.
Next week.